Amara was a vision that lingered in the mind, the kind of woman who turned heads without trying. Her beauty wasn't in bold lipstick or glittering jewelry, it was woven into the warmth of her almond eyes, the melody of her laughter, and the confident sway of her walk that spoke of quiet self-assurance. At 24, she lived in a modest one-bedroom apartment on the fringes of Lagos, where the city's pulse faded into narrow streets and flickering streetlights. Her home was simple, a faded green couch, a small TV, and a shelf of romance novels she read to escape the grind of her receptionist job at a local clinic. Yet, Amara carried herself like she was destined for more, a spark of ambition flickering beneath her gentle demeanor. Her boyfriend, Tobi, was her anchor. At 27, he was a lanky phone repair technician with a quick wit and a heart too big for his meager earnings. By day, he fixed cracked screens in a cramped shop near Computer Village. By night, he freelanced online, designing logos and editing videos for clients halfway across the world. Tobi wasn't wealthy, his faded sneakers and second-hand phone case gave that away, but he was steady, thoughtful, and fiercely driven. He dreamed of opening his own tech startup, and when he spoke of it, his eyes lit up with a fire that made Amara believe in him. Every evening, Tobi would meet Amara after her shift, and they'd stroll through the city's vibrant chaos. Under the golden haze of sunset, they weaved past street hawkers and blaring horns, talking about their future, a house with a garden, kids, maybe a trip to Paris someday. Tobi's love was in the small things, a shawarma wrap from the corner stall when he'd saved a little extra airtime to keep her connected when her data ran low, or handwritten notes slipped into her bag when his pockets were empty. "You're my queen," he'd say, his voice soft but certain. Amara would smile, her heart warmed, but lately, a restless whisper had begun to stir within her. Scrolling through Instagram late at night, Amara's screen glowed with images of women her age living lives she could only dream of. They posed in business-class lounges, unboxed gleaming iPhones, and flaunted weekend getaways to Dubai's glittering skyline. Their captions dripped with confidence, soft life only. Amara's heart would tighten, a quiet voice murmuring, "You deserve that too. Why settle for less?" She'd glance at her chipped nail polish, her second-hand purse, and the dreams Tobi painted with words but couldn't yet afford. Gratitude for his love battled with a growing hunger for something grander. One sunny Saturday, Tobi took Amara to a local lounge in Acacia, a treat he'd planned for weeks. He'd scraped together just enough from a freelance gig to cover their meal, grilled chicken, jollof rice, and chilled Malta Guinness. The lounge was modest but lively, with Afrobeat pulsing through the air and waiters weaving between tables. Amara laughed as Tobi teased her about her spicy food obsession, her eyes sparkling under the fairy lights strung across the patio. For a moment, the world felt perfect. As they stepped outside, still chuckling, a gleaming white Mercedes-Benz glided to a stop in front of the lounge. The car was a statement, polished to a mirror shine, its rims catching the sunlight like diamonds. The door swung open, and out stepped a man who seemed to belong to a different world. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with skin like polished ebony. His designer shirt hugged his frame, a gold wristwatch gleamed under the sun, and his cologne, a sharp, luxurious scent, reached Amara before he did. His name was Derek, though he didn't offer it yet. He glanced at Amara, his eyes lingering, then flashed a smile that was both charming and predatory. "Hey, beautiful," he said, his voice smooth as velvet, ignoring Tobi as if he were invisible. "Can I talk to you real quick?" Tobi's jaw tightened. He stepped forward, his lanky frame suddenly rigid. "Bro, she's with me." Derek's laugh was light, almost mocking, but polished with charm. "No disrespect, bro. Just a quick chat." His eyes never left Amara. Amara's gaze flickered between the two men. Tobi's familiar warmth, his calloused hand brushing hers, stood in stark contrast to Derek's polished allure. Curiosity sparked in her chest, a dangerous flicker. "What do you want to say?" she asked, her voice steady but her eyes betraying a glint of intrigue. Derek leaned closer, his presence commanding. "I'm just keeping it real. You're too fine to be out here struggling. A queen like you deserves the soft life, fancy dinners, trips, the kind of life that matches your vibe." He glanced at Tobi, his smile turning sharp. Your guy's trying, I'll give him that. But trying doesn't cut it anymore, does it? Tobi stood frozen, his face a mix of embarrassment and quiet fury. The words stung, each one a jab at his pride. Amara's heart pounded. She thought of Tobi's sacrifices, nights he'd skipped meals to save for her, the time he'd walked 30 minutes in the rain just to see her when his wallet was empty. But then Derek reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick bundle of 100,000 Nigerian nairas in crisp, clean notes. He pressed it into her hand, his fingers brushing hers. Lunch money, he said with a wink. Amara stared at the cash, her breath catching. The weight of it felt like a promise, a taste of the life she'd been craving. She glanced at Tobi, his eyes pleading, then back at the money. The whisper in her heart grew louder, this is your chance. I'm sorry, Tobi, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, unable to meet his gaze. But I need more. She clutched the bundle and slid into the Mercedes, the leather seat cool against her skin. Tobi stood rooted to the spot, watching as the car pulled away, his dreams crumbling in the dust. Inside the car, Amara's smile was shaky, her fingers fidgeting with the envelope. The city blurred past, bustling markets giving way to upscale neighborhoods with manicured lawns and gated estates. So, where are we heading? She asked, trying to sound casual. Derek's grin was easy, but his eyes were unreadable. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere comfortable. The scenery shifted. The sleek buildings faded, replaced by overgrown roads lined with tangled bushes and abandoned lots. The air grew heavy, the hum of the city replaced by an eerie silence. Amara's stomach twisted. Where are we? She asked, her voice trembling now. Derek pulled over onto a deserted stretch of road, the Mercedes idling under a canopy of gnarled trees. He turned to her, his charm replaced by a cold intensity. Let me ask you something, he said, his tone sharp. Why did you leave your boyfriend? Amara swallowed, her throat dry. Because I wanted more. A better life. He nodded slowly, his gaze piercing. You didn't ask my name. You didn't ask where we were going. You saw a car, some cash, and you followed. His words landed like blows. You left a man who loved you for someone who flashed money once. But here's the truth, I'm not rich. I'm not even who I said I was. He reached over and snatched the envelope from her hands. Amara gasped as he opened it, revealing not cash but blank paper, crisp and worthless. What is this? She stammered, her voice breaking. I'm a test, Derek said, his voice low and final. Call me what you want, karma, a lesson, life itself. But you failed. He opened his door and stepped out. Amara blinked, and in that instant, he was gone, vanished like smoke. The car sat empty, the engine silent. Her hands shook as she stumbled out, her heels sinking into the dirt. The road stretched endlessly in both directions, no signs, no people, just the weight of her choices pressing down. Amara walked for hours, barefoot after her heels snapped, her dress torn by thorns. Her phone was dead, her purse left behind in the car. The night swallowed the sky, stars indifferent above. Her mind replayed Tobi's face, his hurt, his love, his quiet strength. She'd traded it all for an illusion. When she finally reached Tobi's small apartment in a rundown estate, she was dusty, broken, and trembling. She knocked, her heart in her throat. Tobi opened the door, his face a storm of emotions, shock, pain, and something harder. Tobi, she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. I made a terrible mistake. He wasn't real. The money wasn't real. But your love was. Tobi stared at her, his eyes heavy with betrayal. I was real, he said, his voice low and raw. I gave you everything I had, Amara. Not cash or cars, but my heart. And you chose flash over truth. I regret it, she sobbed, reaching for him. Please, forgive me. He looked away, his jaw tight, pain etched into every line of his face. I can forgive you, he said slowly. But I can't forget that when I had little, you left. Not for another man, but for the illusion of something better. He stepped back, his hand on the door. I need time. The door closed softly, the sound louder than any slam. Amara stood frozen, the weight of her choices crushing her. She walked away, the city's lights blurring through her tears. Years later, it's said Amara still walks the streets of Lagos, her beauty undimmed but her spirit quieter, sadder, wiser. She carries herself with a new grace, one born of lessons hard-learned. When she sees young women chasing quick luxury, posing with borrowed bags or chasing men with shiny cars, she smiles, a bitter twist to her lips. She doesn't judge them. She knows the hunger, the whisper of more. But she also knows the truth. Sometimes, the man with the Benz isn't a blessing. He's the lesson that breaks you, then remakes you.